How's it going, guys? So I'm going to start off tonight by talking about plastic, just a little tiny bit, not a whole bunch, I swear to God. So I've recently gotten involved with a company, a small nonprofit here, Scraps KC. Now, a friend of mine had told me about them not that long ago, and it's essentially an art supply store that relies on donations and other things that come in to resell, and it's really pretty cool. I managed to pick up a ton of like inks and markers and other stuff. In fact, and I mean, I found everything from like markers like this, these Montana markers. In fact, this green one is one of the ones I got from there. And it's really a pretty cool little store. Well, there had been an initiative that I found on social media where they were getting involved with something called precious plastics. And I'm still finding out a lot about this. So I plan on making a video that's going to go a little bit more in depth with this once I kind of figure out like what it's all about and what it all entails. But the gist of it is that precious plastics is kind of this open source effort that allows people to reutilize certain types of plastic. I believe it's 2, 5, and 7. I don't quote me on that, but so the basis behind this is that they're taking in donations of this plastic, these different numbers, and they're turning them into, right now, decorative art creative like bowls. They had been wanting other members of the community to come forward and get involved with the creation and other stuff like that. What's really cool about it, when I got to talking to the lady who's in charge down there with that whole effort, Courtney, she was telling me that it not only is to help getting more recycling done and in, but it's also helping the local Kansas City homeless population. It provides them, they're able to come in and do stuff like sorting the plastic, and eventually what might end up helping create some of this stuff. They are able to have somewhere safe to go and have a purpose during the day to be able to work on stuff. And when I came in there to sort of see what the whole operation was like, I was really impressed. And I'm hoping that there's some connections that I've made that will hopefully help this out. But right now, I don't want to speak a whole bunch about it because I want to know exactly like where it's going and what may come of this. And when I've got a better, more solid foundation on this, like I said, I will go more in depth with it because I really think this is something that could be really good. Plastic and the whole reuse factor has been something that has been coming up. A lot of recycling ends up in different circumstances where maybe it's not usable because we don't properly know how to recycle, or it's dirty and it can't be recycled. I'm hoping to put together a bunch of information that will cover a lot of this and give people a reference point to be able to go back to. I need to do a lot of research into this, and then I'll be able to provide you guys with some links and information on how to do this. As artists, we're probably one of the more predominant careers that end up utilizing a lot of things, from paper to ink to brushes. Most all of my brushes are synthetics. Now, I do this from an animal-friendly standpoint. The real problem here is that, unlike, and this is one of my older brushes, this is a really, really beat up. See these teeth marks? This is from one of my dogs. Actually, I think that's from a cat. No, it's a dog. That was a dog. This, I believe, is an old squirrel hair brush. And I've held on to it mainly because I don't even use this anymore. It just reminds me of one of my old pets. But in fact, it was my dog Daisy. And now that I remember that, yeah, this is my dog Daisy that chewed this up. The problem is that, yeah, I'm not a real big fan of squirrel and sable brushes because I understand that it involves, an animal's life in the process to get these things, put together. But I'm also having a hell of a quandary in the fact that how long will this synthetic brush last me? This is plastic. And at some point in time, like, I end up using them over and over again. I'll use old brushes and I'll use them to dry brush action figures and toys, or maybe a bit of scenery or something like that, because sometimes those old brushes, it can also be some wonderful textures depending on the medium or the substrate you're using them on. So I try to use all aspects of it long after the bristles have gone apart. This is a great mixing handle. There's a ton of things you can do with this. The other thing about that too was, what does the long-term effect of other things that we use, like markers and pens? One of my favorite pens is from Japan. And I don't know what to do with this aside from throw it away once I'm done. Single-use pen. I don't believe I can refill these. It's not a Sakura. I forgot what it was. This is the one that I used on Inktober, and I picked it up at KC Colsono Creative. Great freaking pen. I love it. the more art supplies I get, the more stuff I get to illustrate, to work with, the more I begin to look at the footprint I'm leaving behind, and more importantly, the garbage I'm leaving behind in landfills, stuff that can't be recycled, from my actual output artwork to the stuff I'm using to create the artwork. So I've known a few artists. Brandy Stone from Dorky Dino is one that's very, very progressive in trying to get, she even uses bags, like Mylar bags that you would use for prints and things like that. I believe she uses eco-compostable ones, which I didn't even know about. And that's one of the things that I find really compelling about people that will go out and do these sort of shows and efforts, help educate people along the way. And she's one of the few I've known that has, been pretty prevalent in saying, hey, in my post, like her post whenever she's selling her stuff, this is packed in an eco-friendly bag or something. And I'm hoping that that's something that will begin to catch on. And I'm thinking that to some degree, that's something that Scraps KC is doing, and the fact that they're taking a lot of stuff that might have been thrown away and written off or whatever, ended up in landfill, and they've tried to reinvent for it. So there's a lot of things there, from like game pieces, for game boards and stuff like that, to random plastic pipe fittings and other stuff, just things you probably would end up throwing away because you don't know what to do with it. And it's some of the same reasons why sometimes if I get a chance to go to an estate sale or like a flea market or something, I'll pick up other art supplies there where I can, because I know that that's probably better than me going out and getting stuff brand new. Now, the great joke of it all is the fact that we live in a capitalistic society, and I actually have no real problem wrong with that, except that because of the factor that capitalism is very much born upon the idea that we make more, more stuff to sell, we are lining ourselves with more things. I mean, you can look at the walls behind me right now and see everything from, I believe, a record over here, which was a gift and a wonderful gift, to the Clone Trooper helmet up here, to the microphone. I mean, just a ton of things back there. And if I were to show you the other half of the studio, you'd see everything over there. Most all of it is artwork or things or products or video games or whatever created and put together. And we're making a lot of stuff. And as artists, that's what we do. Whether you're working in resin, whether you're working as a watercolorist, whether you're working like the whole ad infinitum, okay? And the biggest quandary I've had recently is, what does this mean in the long run? Am I able to be ecologically responsible, but also prolific as an artist? Does that, in a sense, end up locking me into a zone where there's certain things like I can't do this because of the effect it will have in the long term, and then it ends up almost kind of putting me in this quagmire, this box that I can't get out of? And is that anti-art? It just, that becomes like a whole discussion that I probably don't want to really get into in a video. That actually sounds like something that I want to sit down with a few artists and kind of hash it out and see what people think, because in the long run, you end up with a lot of people thinking about it in different ways. And even people that have worked digitally, those people aren't, and that's me primarily. For the most part, my main body of work currently is digital. Now, one would think that's not that huge of an impact, but this computer is made with components and plastic and glass and wire and silicone and all kinds of stuff that isn't necessarily eco-friendly. It also draws a lot of electricity. What's powering that? And I have to print things out and make limited run G-clays to sell my artwork, because no one's going to buy a JPEG from me. They're just not. And so, actually, I've never tried to sell anyone a JPEG. No, that's not true. I do sell stock photography. So yeah, that's one way to do it, but that's just not a real good sell at a convention, is it? Check out my website and download a JPEG for $15. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad that a few of you have reached out and said thank you for the videos. That's always really, really cool. And I'm hoping that I can get back to putting more artwork and stuff up online and everything. There's some stuff I'm working on right now that it isn't anything you guys really want to see. It's not necessarily illustration directly. It's other stuff, other design work I have to do, and some of it's not anything I'm supposed to share. But at any rate, that's kind of what's been going on, and I'm hoping that the rest of December will be fairly quiet and fairly uneventful. I'm not really a holiday guy. I am the type of person that wants to do nothing during the holidays except for, you know, enjoy my family and the quiet time. And really, I'm kind of looking forward to snow. I know a ton of you out there are like, dude, what the hell? We've been good so far without snow. I actually really want to see it, and I'm hoping we get a foot or two of it. I know we're not. It's Missouri. It Even if it did fall, it'd probably be 98 degrees the next day, and there we go. So anyway, I'll catch you guys next time. But in the meantime, I don't know if you guys can hear that. My robot's going nuts in the background. Anyway,